Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be reviewing 3 games from the NAOL Season 18. This is from the second round, and as a heads up, I was asked kind of near the end of the league, because right now they are at round 5, to go back and review these games. So if you're looking for other reviews from this season, I am not a part of those. So I'm just doing round 2, and that's it. So this is a kind of a surprise video, almost a standalone video. I will be doing round 5 of this season, but I was not a part of the other rounds. So if you're looking for those, they are not going to be coming because they don't exist. Without further ado, let's jump right in. First game is between PopsInABox 17Q versus alrobin 18Q. And we immediately get usually you want to just play in the empty corners first. But it's okay to do this. As long as you're playing in a corner at the start, I guess that's the main thing. But this is fine, and play Joseki is okay. And White even leaves it. I would say it's, again, just okay to just finish the Joseki somehow. Because you don't want to leave these 2 stones isolated if you can avoid it. But it's still okay. Right there, yes. And Black backs off, yep. White plays there, yes. Black extends. Yes, this is all fine. Yes. And then White goes here. So actually, so far this game, especially for if you think high DDKs, this is actually a pretty, besides maybe playing the upper right corner immediately, if you like pause the game right here, this would be a pretty high level game so far. This is the first questionable move, and it has to do with a proverb that if you can master, it can help you in the long run. Where if you have stones that need to extend, how far do you extend? So let's say we have a stone here, right? And let's say White had something in the lower left and then played here. So now we need to make a base for the stone at K3. So how far can we go? So if we imagine an empty board here, again, normally you wouldn't see an empty board like this because you would play in the corners first, but just hypothetically, if you have one stone that needs to make a base, you can extend safely. The key is safely. You can safely extend 2. So if you have one stone, you can extend 2. And let's say, because it came from a kick, or maybe an attachment, right? We have 2 stones. Let's say we have 2 stones. 2 stones can extend 3 safely. Anything further than 3, it leaves a bit too much bad aji. It leaves too much bad aji. So you want to extend at most 3. And then if you get up to 3 stones or 4 stones, the pattern starts to disintegrate a little bit, and it really depends on the board state. But when you have since we're talking, usually this proverb happens kind of in the early middle game or late opening. You usually only have stones that are either 1 or 2 stone groups. So that's what you want to remember. If you have 1 stone, extend 2. If 2, extend 3. So if you just remember that mnemonic, that saying, you will be okay. So with that in mind, when we have this upper right formation here, how far should White extend? So White has 2, so White should extend 1, 2, 3. And should play here. And yeah, it is important to note that it's not the spot that is the third one, it's the spaces in between. That is important to keep in mind as well. But yeah, so what is the main problem with this? So while this is safe, right? Like both of these, like this leaves some bad aji, but it's going to be safe. The problem with this one, while this is also safe, the problem is you can get over concentrated. So having stones that are over concentrated, it doesn't mean your stones are going to be attacked. It doesn't mean they're weak. It doesn't mean anything like that necessarily. It just means they are inefficient. They are not making as many points as they could because they start to crowd the same area. So for example, if let's say Black Hanes, this is a big move to get, honestly, sometime in the middle game because it has to do with corners. So let's say something like Black Hanes and connects. This is a very common sequence. If white does something else completely, there is always going to be Aji of S13. No matter how, whenever black decides to use it, there's always going to be this Aji, and this Aji is very annoying. Because if you just let black connect, then black's going to be able to connect and take out your points. But if you try to refute this, black's going to stand up. This threatens to cut, so you have to connect, and now black has split through your formation there. This is also bad for white. So okay, what if white fixes it? A nice way to fix, you could technically go down like this as white, but usually you want to make a tiger's mouth here. But as you notice, that stone at R12 gets a little close. That stone's a little bit too close. So specifically when you have the kicking shape, like when black kicked at R16, you really want to avoid extending 2 because of this Hane and connect. And again, there are efficient ways you can start to fix. Like maybe you can fix like this. But in general, yeah, you want to just extend the 3, so if black does the same thing, now when you extend, it's a little more efficient. It's a little less over-concentrated. So, yeah. So, just remember that, white. Notice black actually did it down here. Black had 2, so black extended 3. So, you can extend 3 here. So, black extends there, that's fine. And then white extends here, okay. Black extends back. Now here, if you notice, black has only 1 stone, but has extended 3. Why is that? Didn't we just say that black can only safely extend 2? That is true, but what black is doing is that black is, and this is a good proverb to keep in mind, is black is keeping in mind that sente moves are generally always sente. So what does that even mean? So, as we've seen in two of the other corners so far, this kick is a very important move. It's a very popular move. It's a very good move. And so if black answers, notice all of a sudden, this stone is actually, you have 2 stones and you've extended 3. So black is kind of assuming E17 might be coming down the line. But okay, so what that means is if you extended 2 now, while that is correct right now, if white were to kick and you play normally, now you've actually extended 2 from 2. So now you're over-concentrated. So that's why black plays here. Now, the problem with playing here is it does leave Aji of H17. And the thing with this is black can treat this cornerstone lightly because it can still go into the corner. Which this is what E17 is trying to prevent. But if white plays it, then the invasion point is less likely. So this stone at F17 is very flexible. So that's why black's able to play at K16. White plays here. This move is a mistake. Now I'll cut white some slack here because when you are at the 18-17 Q level, if you are seeing sente moves, that is the #1 goal. So the fact that white saw that playing here created a cutting point, and if black goes elsewhere, I'm able to cut here. That is amazing. That is good. But let me explain why this specific one is more of a thank you move as opposed to really helping white. So when you have a diagonal like this, they are not actually connected because they don't actually share liberties. So when you play here, you actually force black to connect liberties. Look, both of these stones have 4 liberties. Well, this stone has 4 liberties and this bottom one has 3 liberties. But when you play here, you force black to connect liberties. Now that full group has 5 liberties. So that's a lot stronger. So it's a sente move, but for example, a better move locally would be for white to play here. Aiming to go into the corner. If black goes elsewhere again, now we can play S17. And if black tries to push down, we can just cover and black can't keep us out of the corner now. And it's because we haven't forced black to connect. So black would like to be able to go here, but we can still Atari here. This is a forcing move. If black has to connect, we can capture that cornerstone. If black Atari's back, then we capture, and that's a pretty bad result for black. Black losing those 2 stones is pretty big. So black has to do something else, maybe this diagonal. But even this it's still a problem, because if you try to block, again, because this diagonal isn't connected, this Atari is still Sente, and we can cut here. So basically, there's a lot worse Aji for black when you don't make this exchange. Now imagine a world where you have made this exchange. When you try the same exact move, because you made black stronger, there's just not really much you can do here. So be cautious of these moves. Again, the main thing is at the 18Q, 17Q level that you're seeing that it's Sente. But just keep in mind that if it's a move, like for example, if we go elsewhere and black goes here, I am not upset that black has made this empty triangle, even if we just answer. Black shape here is not super great. So it's a move that I'm not even worried about black getting. So those are the best moves to leave, even if it's Sente for you, is okay, if my opponent takes it, then it's not really a big deal to me. Black just connects, yes, and white extends there, okay. Black extends there, yes. White plays there, yep. So white plays a very solid style. Slow and methodical. So black goes here and white extends. Before you extending is okay. And without getting into the minutia here, it is better to cut immediately. It is better to cut immediately and see how black's going to play. Black has two options, to connect or to make the ko. If black connects, we actually capture the corner, and this is bigger than, even if black goes here, this is smaller, what black's getting, than what we're getting in the corner, because we took the corner. But black can play this ko. If black plays this ko, then let's say black doesn't have a ko threat and black just does something else, and then we connect. Well, this is, again, a pretty good result. Now these stones on the outside are weak. We can even invade the top, and the corner is pretty big. But let's say we extend first, and then let's say black goes elsewhere. And then let's say we cut, and then black plays the ko again. Well, all of a sudden, if we have to win the ko, like we did before, D15 becomes almost a wasted move. It is, again, a very over-concentrated, slow move. And think about it this way. If we did this variation, and again, black doesn't fight the ko, would we now spend a move to play at D15? No, that is way too slow. I could find a dozen better moves in the upper left area before I would play this one. So, yeah, it's again a minor thing, but when your opponent has a cut, I would just take it and see what happens. Especially when it's a forcing move like an Atari. I would cut, see what happens. So black goes there, yep. And then white covers, okay, white makes the points there. Black jumps up, yep. And this is an important spot. Notice how white has the right side and black has the bottom side. Whenever you have this formation, the area where they meet is very important. So imagine white didn't answer, but instead white took this spot. This builds white's right side and reduces black's bottom side. So when black jumps here, this is expanding black's bottom side, but reducing white's right side. Now the thing with that, and that is generally true, but notice how most of white's stones on the right side are low, right? We have these R12 stone and this R9 stone. Since that is the case, we actually shouldn't think about building this side. Instead, we want to play we want to invade our opponent's area. So I'd be looking to invade the bottom, because what happens is white attaches to build the right side, but what's going to be bigger, the right side or the bottom side? The bottom side is definitely going to be bigger. And it's because white has a lot of low stones here, so it takes a lot of moves to try to build this on a large scale. Whereas black stones if black gets one more move, like black completely seals in the bottom side. So black has the right idea, because this is the biggest spot on the board, but when you have this much strength, it's okay to play, you can still keep building it on a large scale. So then white comes in and cuts. So I think the cut is okay, but you'll notice white plays directly from these stones and cuts. And again, it's good that white is seeing that, there are cuts and there are weaknesses in black's shape. But in general, when you are invading, because when you're invading, you're playing in an area where your opponent has a lot of stones nearby, a lot of friendly stones. So you don't want to play that directly. So first off, instead of building the right side, white should instead, right now, play a move to reduce the bottom side. Now again, there are a few options here. You don't want to play all the way in, because again, if you look how far you have to run to get to some friendly stones, that's a little too far. So I'd be playing a move to reduce, and the move that sticks out to me is this one. Why this one specifically, and this is true in a lot of cases when your opponent has a fourth line stone, is you want to look for the follow-up. So I want to play here, but black will probably cap, and again, now I'm stuck inside black's area, and this is going to be tricky. By playing here, it's harder for black to seal me in now, like I can still run out, but also I'm looking to now shoulder hit. So even if black has to spend a move to protect the bottom, or protect against my shoulder hit, I have already reduced black down to, again, if we compare this position, I have already pushed black down from the 8th line to the 5th line. So that is already a good exchange for me. So you want to get in early as opposed to late. Now, if it does get to this point and you need to play in, you want to look to, because notice again, this is where all of black stones are, a lot of black stones are. So you want to look to place attachments like E3 if you want to try to invade, because you make it a direct 3 liberties to 3 liberties fight, as opposed to here, notice these stones have 6 liberties to your 2 liberties. So it's just it's a hard fight locally to try to win. But yeah, after this, like black just plays very solidly and even nets here, and yeah, white struggles to live on the bottom is basically what happens, and yeah, ends up dying. And yeah, there's definitely more efficient ways of playing for both sides. Like here, first off, this doesn't help white live, and since it doesn't help white live, black can just go elsewhere, but black just answers. Here, even if white connects, white's whole group is still going to die, so black doesn't need a block. Things like that. Again, these are things that maybe when you get closer to SDK as double-digit Qs are more important. But for now, I think if you see a weakness, it is good to just protect against it or to try to exploit it. Black was there. And yeah, I think that's basically it for this game. I'll quickly go through. But yeah, I think in this game, it was apparent that black had a better understanding of the opening and even the middle game as in terms of knowing where the big points are on the board. Black was always getting to the biggest spots first before white was. And that actually, we will see, becomes a theme throughout this whole review session. Yeah, it's a theme that keeps appearing. So, yeah, again, there's minor mistakes here and there, but the bulk of this game really came down to the opening and the middle game. So, yeah, and then right at the end, white missed this connect and die and resigns. So yeah, that was the first game. And now let's look at the second game. I am back with the second game, and we have black, Raven of Winter, 12Q, versus Chloe, 14Q as white. So let's jump right in. And again, similar to the other game, it's evident that one side has a better understanding of how stones connect and how to really transition from, you have your stones from the opening, how do you transition to playing into the middle game? And like, how are you seeing how your stones are connecting? So white approaches, black extends, and right here, I think you need to bump immediately like this. Even if you're going to connect after, you really need to make this bumping move because it creates a weakness in black's shape here. There's a potential push and cut here. Whereas when white connects, black should actually bump here because once again, it gets rid of that weakness in black shape, but also protects the corner a little bit. So if white goes elsewhere, even if black plays moves like s5, this solidifies the corner, but also makes those 3 white stones without a base. Whereas once again, if you can bump here, even if you can extend like this, white's able to help their group a lot nicer. And again, the main thing is there's still a weakness here. So yeah, but again, this makes sense because black wants to build the bottom, so black is attaching. And to white's credit, white plays it right here. So white does find the move. Hane. And here is one of the steps that they always talk about, like what are the steps to, different rank thresholds, right? What are the steps to SDK? What are the steps to Dawnhood? Well, one of the steps, one of the most important steps to getting to Dawnhood, which even though these are DDKs, I think it is important to talk about, is mastering the double Hane. And so this is the perfect example of mastering the double Hane, is white should double Hane here. Now the question is, why should white double Hane here? The key with double Hanes, if you are unfamiliar or maybe you're not as strong or maybe you just don't understand them that well, is when you are playing the double Hane, you play the double Hane not because of the local side, but we are looking at the other sides. And again, that can change in a lot of scenarios. The most probably popular example or most obvious example is the 3-3 invasion, where black can double Hane here, not because black wants the outside, but because black's looking to take the corner. This is Joseki, and notice black was able to, even though black gave up a stone, black's able to take the corner now. So if we look at the game, we are not actually looking to take the corner. Instead, we are offering the corner, right? Let's say black does something like this, in exchange for the other side. So remember that weakness I was talking about? Well, once we play S2, there is a lot of problems when we push and cut now. And this, what's cool is this kind of sequence here talks about the importance of double Hane, of course, but also of order of moves. So because we cut first, notice we are threatening a double Atari. So black doesn't even have time to Atari here because we can double Atari at Q2. So black has to play either a move like this or a move like this. If black plays a move like this, then we're even able to get this Atari now. Right? And this is pretty big. But if black fixes like this, then we get this descent in Sente as well. And this is going to help us get into the bottom side somehow. If we Atari'd first, though, because we forced black to take, notice now there's no double Atari at Q2 now. So, again, this is highlighting order of moves because we don't want to Atari first because it forces black to take off this stone here. We want to cut first to see how black's going to play. And again, there's a lot of problems here for black. And not to kind of dilute the main point here, but just this is why double Hane is important. When white simply goes here, here's why we want to double Hane, by the way. If we double Hane, what if black goes elsewhere? Well, we can just cut. And this is humongous. Because once again, even if black can Atari down, the corner is big, but also there's, again, that weakness at P4 black has to worry about. So we almost force black to have to answer locally. But by descending, and black goes elsewhere, well, now we can't capture at Q2. And even if we play here next, and we capture now, even if there's a weakness, we have wasted a stone at S3. Notice, it's as if we had went here, black went elsewhere, we were able to capture, black fixes the weakness there, and then we went to S3. So we are making it more forceful by double Haneing, whereas this is just going to be Gote, which it is, black goes elsewhere. So that's why double Hane is important as well. So as black splits the left side, white plays there, black goes there, and white kicks. And again, we do have a position where white has over-concentrated black, but white themselves has weakness at C5. So white really needs to add a stone there. White goes here. This is okay, but again, you really want to make this Hane and connect because you have a lot of bad Aji in the corner. if black's able to get Sente, black can just peep here. Black can just peep here. So, yeah. If you have to connect, then black's able to Hane, and your shape gets pretty bad all of a sudden, and black gets into your corner. And notice, if you think about a normal 3-3 like this, it's the same spot that would be at the 3-3 spot. Because you're playing, think about it as you're playing at like the tiger's mouth shape. So that's why in both positions, it's the kind of move to play. And what's cool is, I always highlight in my videos that shapes that work in one position, whether it be the corners, sides, or center, generally works in other positions too. So while these both are kind of in the corner, this is definitely the corner, the upper right, whereas this is more working on the side per se. But in both cases, it works. So yes. So that's why playing here instead means if black peeps here, there's no connection underneath. So yeah, it's just working a lot better for white, that shape there. And black goes here. So again, the main thing when you're at this level, DDK level, is that you're seeing the weakness there. But let me just explain how this shape is actually not the best shape locally, believe it or not. Because black is worried about this push and cut, right? And black's worried about it because if black does something else, black doesn't want to have to Atari this way because black's going to lose the semi-eye, right? White can turn once, and then white's already won the semi-eye here. And this, again, would be bad result for black. And black doesn't want to Atari this way, right? Because, yeah, there's a lot of Aji on the outside, which I can understand. So what are the best ways for black to play? So the best way for black to play, there's a few ways for black to play. But if you're worried about this push and cut, in a lot of cases, actually, it's because if you play a move like this, you're actually playing in an area where you are strong. So you're actually a little over-concentrated. So strictly point-wise, P4 is the best because even when we play the move we play in the game, white can play at P4. And if you notice this 0-3 and 0-4 spot, we just cost ourselves 2 points. Just like that. But the best place to play is S2. S2 works because if white pushes and cuts, we only need to push twice, and then we can cover white here because we're alive in the corner. But if we don't want to get, again, that too deep in the weeds, we can play at Q2. Because, again, if we play here, if we play here and white plays at S2, notice white is threatening to cut still. But by playing at Q2, we have fixed this problem because we can Atari down. And we have also fixed this problem. White playing at S2 is not Sente anymore. So again, the main thing is black, you noticed there was a weakness and you fixed in a way that's good shape, and that's amazing. But in this case, because you're actually very strong on the bottom, I would look to play a different move. But in a lot of cases, 0-3 is an amazing move. I have to say this, black, because so far you're making very few mistakes. So you're very strong 12Q. So yes. So white goes there, black jumps up, and then white goes here. And again, the people who end up winning these games, it really comes down to they know their opening and middle game shapes better than, or the ones who were winning know it better. And so the ones that were losing know them less. So for example, I would just extend all the way because if black still jumps up, there is Aji of playing at M17 because M17 threatens to connect under. But when you play here into here, you don't threaten to come under. And also, white has a bunch of low stones in this corner. So this corner, I would not be thinking about building. So this is actually a small area for white to be playing in. Again, white should be worried about this lower left corner or even building the right side with maybe a Hane and double Hane like this. So, yes. So black finally comes in and white splits. And yeah, this is good for black. Or this is a nice sequence for black. White plays here. And then Ataris and comes down. Technically, it's slightly better for white to simply go here, but again, it's okay. Black covers. Black plays here. Again, since we're talking about the center, it's now bigger to just go elsewhere now. Again, I think S14, believe it or not, even though we have this whole center to fight over, is actually the biggest move because it solidifies the upper right and creates weakness on white's right side. But I think black had a specific plan in mind because I noticed when white went here, black ignored. And when white went here, which this is the correct direction, black went here. Or black went here. So here, as white, or from white's perspective, think about it this way. If I descend here, black needs to be able to make a dead shape or win a semi against my group here. So let's count the liberties. So these two stones, each of them have 3 liberties. And now count the white stones that black has to win the semi in. Do you see how white has just almost an infinite amount more liberties? Yeah, so any liberty race here, I don't even know hypothetically what would be the best move. There's just not a great move for black here. If we do this, we just descend. If we play here, like this might be the best way for black to play, potentially, possibly. Black can maybe do this into here. We can poke here. And again, maybe this is tricky to see, and it is tricky to see, but you'll see that black's able to, or white's able to win this semi. And it's just because white had all these extra liberties on the outside. And again, maybe that's too hard to see, but what ends up happening is white could have died instead. So if you're going to potentially die here, the other way, like white just kind of outright dies, but in this way, there's at least a fighting chance. And the other problem is, if black doesn't do anything there, white can hane and black can block. And then black has to fix. But by making this exchange, and nothing works here, let me do something else. Well, now, F1, black cannot play at G1. So this exchange here there is not no cost for black. It did cost black a little bit to be able to make this exchange here. So, yeah. We get this. Atari. Black pushes in, and you can see there's just a lot of problems here. And although, like if white doesn't even throw in, white's going to be able to live. Like white's going to be able to live because white will be able to play here next, and then white has an eye in the corner and an eye here. But when white throws in, white actually makes it so that now white has to spend a move to play here. And even throwing in again, not good technique because it means there's worse Aji for black in this direction. Because when you throw in, if we imagine white isn't dead, right? And we imagine something like this. Pushing here, now black can just connect back to the H, or the G1 stone, no problem. But without that exchange, now black can't connect to G1 now. So black has to now fight this, which is going to cost black a lot. So it's minor things. It's minor moves that have major implications. So, yeah, black went here, and black fixed, but black can just push. Black can just push. This is even threatening to cut. So even if something worked on the outside, you would at least be able to take. This wouldn't be the tail of the dragon. This would be the head of the dragon, or the body, right? This is a lot. So, yeah, black plays here, which I'm not sure what black was seeing. Again, I think trying to be efficient, but it would, again, just be better to just fix outright. But, yeah, white was able to live. But, again, that was too painful by itself. All in Sente, reduced down to 2 points. Yeah, and then white goes here. So, yeah, there's a lot of these kind of questionable moves. Like, you want to build this right side as big as possible, so you should attach here. You're threatening to now build the entire right side. But when you just jump here, yeah, black was able to reduce you down while building the top. So, yeah, and then here. This move is too greedy by black. Because, and even this move's not that bad if black had just dropped back, but black goes deeper into white's area. But black, you should just focus on building. You should just focus on building this area here. Because what's going to happen is even if you can rip the area out here, white's going to rip an equal amount on this side too. So and the difference is though, notice there's cuts here, there's peeps white can use, and you have a potentially floating group here. Whereas if you just do this, you're still threatened to come in, but you're building points and there's no chance for counterattack from your opponent. But that's good. And then white plays there, Atari. And this is actually, even though black can split, this is okay for white. Because yeah, you can still connect back. And this is good too. Peep, clamp, and then right here. This is probably the last major point in the game here. Because what happens is white fixes here, and black's able to split the right side, which again, this is way too painful. So it looks like white was concerned about a move here, and if I block, there's a cut here. Which again, if this works, this would be, again, you lose the tail, those center stones, this would be horrible for white. But number one, you could simply just back off here and there's no problems. But let's assume we can't go here and we have to play this move. Instead of playing this move, which again has good shape, it doesn't threaten anything else. It is inefficient. All it is doing is fixing my shape. So instead, and this is a good technique to use, imagine this is on the board. Imagine this is on the board. And let's say black goes elsewhere. Now ask yourself, how would I fix this weakness here? I could play here, I could play here, I could play here, right? There's a few ways you could fix that weakness. So instead, play one of those moves. So I would play this move. Because again, this threatens to come into the bottom. But again, that means this move works, this move works, even this move works, right? But in this case, this would be the best move locally. Because again, if black goes elsewhere, then now we can get into black's bottom a little bit. But even if black answers here, which threatens to cut, the whole point of this stone is that we were fixing our weakness. And so the question is, did it fix our weakness? Yes, it did. And even if black Atari's here, the whole point of that stone was to fix Incente. And we have. So, yeah. So instead, though, we get this. And, yeah, white just dies in the upper right. And, yeah. After dying in the upper right, initially after getting squeezed to 2 points in the lower left, it was a lost cause for white, but specifically after dying on the right side, yeah, this is a huge loss for white, so then black was able to win this game. But again, I think it came down to just simply black having a better grasp of how the opening transitions into the middle game and really playing in the biggest areas. So it's very similar to the first game, which also is very similar to the final game. So let's go check out the game 3. I'm back, and here we are with game 3. We have arunas 8Q as black versus RainierBob 8Q as white. We get there, we get that, sure. Approach. This is all standard. And this move is standard, but less trendy because of AIs. White just answers no, and then black goes here. So normally what happens is white plays here, black will jump, and then white has Sente. This is the normal continuation. And we're going to talk about why these are the moves to play instead of what happens in the game. Because in the game, white goes here. So without going into details immediately, this move really only works if you already have this stone here and black were to go elsewhere. Then you want to play c8. But let's talk about why. So when white plays here, this is correct. This is correct. b7 is the right move to play. And then white comes out. Now what happens in the game is black pushes and cuts. But when white gives up that stone and Hane's here, this is an amazing result for white. Amazing result. white cut off the C11 stone without even adding a stone at C13, and now reduce black down to like, what, 6 points maybe? Very little points. So what did black do wrong? What black did wrong here was black needed to not actually go after. Black needs to realize that white just has a floating group. So as long as black stays connected, white is just going to have kind of stones floating in the center that aren't really doing much. So black should play here. Again, this is not an intuitive move, but you can find it first by identifying, oh, this result probably won't be so good for me when I lose this C11 stone. So I need to play something that helps my C11 stone. So this move, yeah, if white comes up, then I can connect. And again, even though white has technically pushed me down to the second line, white has just some floating stones in the center. And these stones white has played has not come at no price. White has actually paid, not severely, but white has paid for these stones, and I can explain why. And you have to realize whenever you play these kind of exchanges, especially, it happens a lot when you're invading, is they don't come at no cost. Like a lot of times, like for example, if we play in this corner, lower right corner, and black answers, generally speaking, we haven't lost anything. But when we have stones nearby, we can potentially lose something. And I'll explain with this example here. So let's say we do play the proper moves, right? And black goes elsewhere, or white goes elsewhere. This Hane eventually will become a big move. And then white will connect, and then black has to, or white will block, and black has to connect. And then black is threatening a4 on the next turn, right? Black is unable to play a4 because of the cut here. If black's able to play a4 and we can do this, then black's able to, in one fell swoop, take out white's corner. As opposed to having to connect, white gets another forcing move, and then we can play here. While it's still a big move, notice it took an extra stone to do it. So notice, when white plays here and black gets this move, let's say we do have this position here, black's able to Hane here. And if white blocks, black's able to play at a4. Because white has given black the good shape at b7. So white has paid, again, not severely, but white has paid for some points in the corner. So that's why even if white's able to save these stones, and you might think, oh, white was able to rep out black's territory there, like for free. It wasn't actually for free. It wasn't actually for free. So, yeah. So, again, this position, if we get here, not great for white. So how does it change when we have this stone here? It changes because instead of playing out this way, allowing our opponent to play here, we will then play this knight's move. And notice how this knight's move is threatening to connect to c11. And if black plays here, we can bump here. Again, this is still threatening to connect at b11. And if black blocks, even though black's threatening to capture this one stone, it isn't threatening to connect, because if black captures, we have time to separate. So black's not alive here, black's not alive here. This result would be amazing for white. Okay, and so if black has to play here, then we can just connect under. Okay, what if we block here? Well, now we stand up. Again, you really can't Hane here, because this cut is very painful. Again, notice C13 is coming in to save us almost every move. This stone is so valuable. This black tries to win the semi-eye, it's just impossible. So black has to stand up. Now we play that knight's move that white played in the game, but now we have good shape, and now black's just separated. So even worse than the other variation. So probably the best move for black is to just let white connect under, but white connects under, and again, it wasn't at no cost because black can play at b5 and Hane later, but this is a pretty good result for white. White can even still save the c8 stone, and black has no base at all. So generally, you don't want to let this happen, which is why when white plays here, you want to play this move. With, again, the idea with this move is if white plays the same move here, Haneing here now white can't cut, and now white can't even escape. So white would just be sealed in, and yeah, this would be a good result for black. So Yeah, and again, if you play the same move, this same kind of sequence here is going to work for you as black here. So no problems. Yeah, so that's why you want to play this as white, and then you want to jump. So yeah. But when we get this result, yeah, this is amazing for white. And black actually realizes that you can Hane here, so this is good. And again, generally, because playing here is not Sente for white, in a lot of cases, in this case, actually this takes away black's eyes. So this would actually be okay. You generally want to save Sente moves that are gote for your opponent, but in this case, it's probably okay to just make your base. Then we play there, extend, yes. Black extends, and then play there, okay. And generally speaking, when you have this Joseki, because the attach under is the most common move that you'll see. Whenever you get this Joseki, whatever side has the one space jump, doesn't matter what color, black or white, this side on the bottom becomes very small. And even when black's Shamari is facing the right side, like black's third line stone is facing that way, that way, yes. Or the third line is facing it, whereas if you notice when it's facing this way, now it's on the fifth line. The fifth line stone is facing the right, whereas the direction here is the third line. This is even smaller. This side is even smaller. So playing here, not a horrible move, but there's actually not that many points here. Even if white just came in immediately, this result would be like hard for black to manage. But white shoulder hits, this is a good technique too. Black crawls, and then white attaches. So again, I can tell that white has, similar to the other games, white has a better understanding of the opening. Trying to play in the biggest areas first, and even knowing certain techniques like the shoulder hit here, knowing about the weakness at c8, and then jumping out with the knight's move. So I can tell white has some experience, or at least some knowledge on this subject. And black is comparatively is lacking, because even here, black Atari's here and allows white to capture this stone at r7. But if black had simply just Atari'd here, black would be able to keep the stones alive, or keep the stones connected. And the key is, even if this can live, which it can't, because you can play here, and there is some Aji, but even if it can live, or even if it's a Ko, the corner is not that big. The corner is not that big. So yeah, just going after the corner here is quite small. And then even Haneing like this, and then even you have all these stones in the area, this would be the best time to try the double Hane. Reduce white's right side as severely as possible, whereas build the bottom side as big as possible. But you play here, you're playing a move on the inside. So yeah, and then white takes the big move up top, which, by the way, that's the direction black should play here. Black should play at L16, threatening to play H17 next if white does something else. But yeah, so this result, yeah, and this is kind of what it looks like is, and because in all these games so far, it's like there's not a huge, it's not like there's a huge overwhelming mistake in the opening that causes a player to have to kind of go crazy in the middle game. It's just one player is less efficient than the other, and it's kind of like a boa constrictor. It's just the opponent that is playing better is just slowly but surely increasing that lead until it becomes too late. And the player that ends up losing doesn't even realize, oh, I'm behind by 30 plus points all of a sudden. And it has to do, like in this game, it has to do with kind of how inefficient black stones are, right? Look how many stones black has used on the left side to get just 6-7 points. Look how many stones black has used here, when here, comparatively, like how many more points did black gain? Maybe like 5 or 6 compared to how many more white has gained. So yeah. So like here, the upper left is screaming because it's the biggest area on the board, and if white gets that whole quadrant, it's just going to be game over. But black just kind of plays this move, and as you notice, and we'll get there in a second, just gives white the entire upper left. No fight, no struggle, just, okay, white, you can have it. But you need to jump in. So, and maybe it's a case of you don't know how to jump in, which is fair. So let me show you some techniques. When you are invading an opponent's area, you want to look for a few things. One, can I play moves that threaten to connect back to my friendly stones, my alive stones? So a move I'm looking at is maybe a move like K17. Because if white comes on top, then okay, I have connected under. So I have successfully reduced white. If white separates, though, again, this is not at no cost because M18 reduces the upper right a little bit. But if white loses more points here, like look how many points white can lose here compared to how many points we can lose here, right? So it is a worthy exchange to make. And now you want to think about good shape, and you want to think about shoulder hits and attachments. So here, what draws my attention is G16 next. We play G16. If white comes out, then we can jump out. And again, it might be hard to visualize where your eyes are, but as you play more games and you get stronger, you'll start to realize that it's not so much how hard it is for us as black to make eyes and to live, it's how hard it is to prevent that as white. Because you start to learn, like in this case as black, how much Aji there really is in this area. So for example, like if white tries to play from here, you'll realize that moves like D12 threaten to Atari, so white has to stand up. You'll realize attachments here threaten to get into the corner. And so you don't want to just spam these when you're playing, but you want to realize these are options. And just to show, like if white cuts, then we Atari, and we're actually just out already. So, yes. Invading takes some practice, but it starts with just thinking about your sente moves, your forcing moves, and going after stones that have weaknesses. So again, the weakness of this diagonal is we can connect under. The weakness of this Hane is that we can Atari next. So like if white pincers, we can Atari. But whatever you do, you need to, even if you want to go all the way back to when you first learned about moyos, the sector line, just pick a spot here. Here, we'll just play here. Even if white answers, we have already reduced white. We could end up playing the move we did in the game. So you need to play sooner than later. I see a lot of players that give their opponent huge areas, even let them seal it all the way in, and then they try to come in. But you need to come in first, even just to see how your opponent answers, and then you can play from the outside. So, yeah. And because again, I'm not seeing, like, I can somewhat see it actually now that I'm looking at it for a second. Like if white gets a move there, like it starts to build this right side too. But that just showed how slowly, how inefficiently black was building early on. That black has to take dame to just get rid of what white has. Whereas white is playing moves worth actual points. And this attachment is, again, a very good move. Because if we just play here, it's probably going to be gote. Attaching is trying to get sente. So black hanes. And black needs to answer this. Black just needs to take a chill pill and just answer. Because when black plays here, white does answer, which is okay, and black jumps, white should just hane here. This move is ginormous. Ginormous. So, yeah. And again, white is probably happy just surrounding here, so white doesn't need to get K2, but as soon as black went here, yeah, white added a stone. Honestly, this is probably white's first major mistake. Everything white has done is pretty good, actually. Very strong, especially for 8Q. But this move is just unnecessary. But white should just play K2. Yeah, black goes. And again, black feels the need to play moves like this because if white gets there, it's like white gets too much. But notice black is making no points with these moves. So, yeah. Again, a minor mistake for white. If black connects, now you can't play K2. Well, you can play K2, but it's not as effective. So white actually needs to go here first. And if black extends, we'll probably push again. and then we can turn. Now it becomes this, but it's because black made some minor mistakes. But yeah, again, no huge fireworks in any of these 3 games. It was kind of, all 3 games were actually very similar. It was a player who early on had a better grasp of how stones can be efficient and how stones can connect, and just the other player falling behind, and just over the course of the game just fell behind in points. And in some of the games they felt like they needed to do something, in other games there was like no chance to, and so the one side just wins. So yeah, extend there. This is actually important. If you block here, you're going to lose the stones here because of cut here, and then yeah, so this was correct to just extend. But yeah, yeah, this is an end game, and yeah, even white added a stone. I actually don't think, because of how you have immense thickness, there's just no real chance for black to get anything there, but it's okay. And yeah, so very solid game by white. And black, I think black again just needed to be, think about the whole board a little. Don't think about so locally, like when you play moves like N4 or playing moves like this jump out here. You're thinking very locally when you need to take into account the entire board and what's going on the entire board. And actually that goes for basically everyone who lost these rounds. You need to think more globally. And everyone who won these rounds, I'm actually very impressed with their play. So yeah. But yeah, that is my reviews for round 2 from season 18 of the NAOL. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you all in the next session.